Alright, showed up a little late, 8:25-ish, but today's anime did arrive, so at least we have that. Before things, when supernatural battles become commonplace, DVD and Blu-ray versions. It's a very curious name. I guess if it's dubbed, it's probably going to get watched. Oh look, it's dubbed. And then she's wearing a swimsuit, but whatever. Come on, close. So we got 2 discs in the Blu-ray version, as expected. Then the DVD version. Oh, there's even more girls in, I'm guessing swimsuits, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, it looks like this is a split artwork disc, maybe? No. Okay, let's begin by taking a look at the first disc, because the artwork's a bit mixed up here. So we can kind of see red-haired girl and blonde girl on the left there. Then disc 2, we've got the other two, although the hair color is different on black-haired, purple-haired girl. We've got a bunch of swimsuits here, whereas over here we have the characters. So Sentai keeping it a little mixed up. And again, looking at the back, we've got Region A only, all 12 episodes on 2 discs, English and Japanese audio. About what we'd expect. Next up, we've got Beelzebub TV series DVD Part 1. So this only has the first 30 episodes, and I'm guessing there are more than that. I don't know what this anime actually is. A delinquent is demonic world-ending baby. Amusing sounding concept. Did I pronounce it right? Beelzebub. I think that kind of sounds demonic, but oops, it says on the hose. You don't get too many of those. Or these. So that's the main image, but this one looks intentional. Designed to try and match the thematic. It's interesting how it's different from the others. The other ones show all these characters. Looking at disc 4. 4 discs. And we have Doamygar D. Feed your appetite for robot fights. Don't know too much about this. Don't even know if I'll be able to regularly pronounce it unless I watch it, get really into it, feel the need to reference it. It's just a single DVD. Oh, Funimation.com. So this isn't who released this? Eastern Star Discotheque? Yeah. This is interesting. Kind of hoping I could see the vintage a little easier. I'm not sure what to think about it, because it certainly looks like it's an older vintage, but I'm not sure if it actually is, or if it could be a newer thing meant to look older. You sometimes see those kind of things out and about. I don't know. Quite a mystery. And then last but not least, Wagnaria 3 Set 2 arrived. Eventually I will find this. I think for this one it's structurally sound and one piece enough, like a lot of Aniplex releases. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Most refreshing girl on the front. You know, she doesn't feel the need to stress people or drink them underneath the table or get people to do work for them or punch them. Yamada's kind of interesting because she's a cat. Kind of. I mean, more like a friendly cat. Some cats are socially on their own. I guess it doesn't matter. Blah blah blah. But she doesn't understand. She's amusing. Whatever. Brothers along the same lines. I don't know. It's definitely come a long way from a series of characters that I didn't know if I really liked most of them to, oh, okay. Even the characters I didn't like so much before, they're not being as bad with them. So it got better. We got, of course, postcards, which I normally don't look at anymore because of the amount of work. We got a questionnaire and a proof of purchase. Now if I'll pick this proof of purchase up and put it in here. It's this week's anime DVD collection update. Again, Amazon was a little late delivering, so let's go through this fast. I do believe last week I left off, I had watched all but like 1 or 2 episodes on this, and I said that one of the things this series has going for it is its main character is actually kind of a scummy person, and it plays off really well because it's kind of set up in a sort of scenario where that person isn't like that. So I think it's been playing around with that alright. It's been a neat series. There's been some other funny things I think I mentioned before that I think it's done by the same person who did Angel Beats, and for some reason, even though Angel Beats had some of the most funniest slapstick moments, they didn't make me laugh for some reason. I wasn't ever sure why, but it's working out this time, and of course some Angel Beats moments really worked out. And so far this one's been amusing. That's Charlotte. Looking forward to the second half. Speaking of second halves, I watched the second half of Garo, the animation. Yeah. And, you know, I'd watched the first half before. I'm trying to think what to comment about it. Because I thought this second half, some of it felt like you kind of knew what was going to happen because it was doing things that you could feel were common ways to manipulate the story. But at the same time, I thought it was kind of pleasant where it went, and it was interesting. There was a couple neat things that happened here and there, and based on where it ended at the halfway point, I guess it didn't feel like there was necessarily direction, but like for the first half of the series, you feel like there's a sort of direction, but you're not quite sure if it's really meeting up to that expectation. And I think the shift at the halfway point kind of helps realign and readjust your watching of it such that your expectations are more in line with what they should be, and I guess it ends up okay and interesting. Neat things happen. You know, there's a lot of neat things about the anime. I can kind of feel that there's imperfections here and there that would probably dissuade some people, but I don't know. I thought it was neat. I guess next on the list is Trinity 7. I'm wondering if I got 2 things swapped here, but it doesn't really matter. I thought this one was actually refreshing. The character personalities are a lot more... Gosh, I can't think of the right word to describe it. It's been a week. Basically, I don't know. The character personalities are refreshing. It goes all over the place with how it is, and I don't know. Maybe it kind of feels like there isn't exactly a clear... I don't know. I guess it kind of gives you an objective, but it doesn't really feel like the way it's advancing in that direction is necessarily fulfilling per se. So I'd say it's just more like, as you go along with it, it's just kind of enjoyable as it goes. And again, I think most of that is probably because our characters are a lot more refreshing. It's like our main character is like, oh, it must be some sort of badass, haha. Now, I don't know how much of that's the dub, but at the same time, it doesn't look like the way the characters are interacting. It can be making that out of your stereotypical weak-willed guy who happens to be a badass, but also, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I walked in on the bathroom on you, and I didn't mean to touch your boobies, and stuff like that. And, you know, those kind of events happen in here, but I think it takes a much more, this is all kind of absurd approach to it, which, again, is refreshing. where it ended. I don't know. I don't know what I think about all of that. It wasn't bad. It was just... I guess that's maybe... It's kind of like... It doesn't make you feel as fulfilled as it could, I suppose. But, you know, I thought it was actually a much more enjoyable version of the harem animes that are kind of out there. Kind of reminded me of a combination of... I think it was Demon King Daimyo or something like that. And at the same time, a little bit of hint of a High School DxD. Of course, you probably understand why I'm suggesting that if you've watched it. Assuming I'm remembering which anime had that element going for it. But if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And it's whatever. I also watched Blood Blockade Battlefront. You know, because I kind of mentioned that I was very curious about the character designs. I guess a lot of the reason they kind of feel different enough is it actually takes place in alternative worlds, New York City, an alternative Earth. I mean, like one in which you know, New York City kind of got attached to another alternative dimension, and because of some collapse that was happening, and so now it's populated by a bunch of weird things. Some of the episodes kind of remind me of Space Dandy or Cowboy Bebop or something like that. They're one-offness where it's like people kind of living their everyday life with the ever so slightly outside of our normal expectations sorts of things, which makes me think that it's remotely possible it's made by those same people, but I'm not certain I would say it's definitely that, because it didn't feel exactly like that style. It was just an interesting there's lots of little interesting elements all through it. And I guess I just don't know what I want to talk about too much, except where it went. I guess part of the problem with that, you know, it's obviously not ranked 8, mid-8 something, so mid-7, which kind of means it's okay, it's very watchable. You'll probably get something out of it if it just happens to line up right with your expectations. And I guess the thing holding it back is it kind of feels like it's not a complete implementation of whatever it was doing. Like, there's elements in there that have something happen for finale that is actually a big, major, notable thing, and some of it is actually thematically, it feels right for what the series is, but at the same time, I can't help but feel like a couple of the characters, in order to build up to that, kind of had to be very different from how they were portrayed, and their portrayal was a particularly interesting one. I guess, I'm trying to think if, yeah, I guess I don't see them. It's this one girl who introduces herself in an interesting way, I think, is kind of the main culprit. And I don't know if I want to say too much more than that, because, in my opinion, you know, she was kind of curious and interesting, but then she was just kind of there, sort of. I mean, it wasn't exactly that, but it was sort of... We wanted to see interesting personalities, because that seems to be what that anime had going for it. I don't know. And then finally I watched Laughing Under the Clouds. My main thoughts about it are that it was actually a really nice series. It just has a major flaw in that it doesn't really draw you into the underlying story at the very beginning. It's the sort of thing where you'd probably be the kind of person who starts watching it and enjoys starting watching it because you really like the Edo period slice of life sort of stuff of these brothers, but at the same time, you know, it doesn't really feel like there's a good obvious goal or motivation. If you take it compared to another medieval Japanish sort of piece with fantasy elements, of course, like Yona of the Dawn, which scores really high, that one you kind of understand from the first episode why you want to see what happens. You know, they give you a good hook to want to see what's going to happen to Yona. I felt like Laughing Under the Clouds didn't quite give you that until, you know, a lot of stuff had already been built up. So it's very much a better player mid to late game, I guess, compared... Well, I guess you can't really say compared to other anime, because plenty of anime, you know, stay consistent throughout and are maybe enjoyable throughout. I don't know. But of all the stuff I watched, well, I'd have to decide between this or Garo in terms of good story arcing, I guess. Except again, like I said, it doesn't have a very strong first arc per se, so I don't know. That's the interesting things about it. Watching a wide variety of shows, although how wide of a variety do I actually watch? I mean, it's already bad enough that I only watch stuff that comes out on Blu-ray and DVD, but even of that stuff, I tend to gravitate towards certain things. I mean, some of the stuff was just that I was playing so much StarMade, I was trying to experiment and understand the fleet mechanics they introduced in that game, and I think I reached the limit of what I'm trying to learn with that, because I did successfully create a carrier ship that seems to have things docking right. Unfortunately, the salvaging, well, neat isn't quite what I would, it's got issues. I mean, I've got some crazy ships that I would love to see them do automated salvaging, but they just don't work. It's like, once they get to be a certain length, they're not going to work right. It only works if they're little itty bitty ships. Except that one little itty bitty ship wasn't doing things, so I don't know. The other question was whether or not I could have things that dock on other ships that are attached to ships, so you could have like lifts that lift up and something docks off or flies back to it. And I tried a couple of little potential tricks to trick the game into doing that, but it pretty much knew what it was doing, I guess. Give or take the fact that you can tell a fleet to fly somewhere and it'll just fly through a star without caring. It won't wrap around it or properly stop in a system sometimes, I think. Oh well. But yeah, part of the reason, that's part of the reason why so many of my choices were what they were, because they were dubbed animated that were on the top of the piles that I'm building up and not building down. It's also why I haven't watched Sound Euphonium. It's because I've been doing other stuff while doing this, and it's projects on top of projects. I started watching the 6th season of Walking Dead, so my anime this week might be a little slower. I guess we'll have to find out. But there was some neat things that came out this week. And being done with the fleet mechanics, I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm doing next in StarMade. Maybe a good opportunity to go back to that Pokemon database and finding a better way to put data in there. Whatever. So, I'm going to go ahead and do that in this update. Y'all, have a nice week.